And we will be affected too.
Yes, we'll be affected. Now, they said, okay, if we stop cars using petrol, for instance, it will be a huge, because that's one of the highest consumers of fuel. So produce electric cars, okay? Now, when you produce that, oil is, could be put for another better, it will not, again, finance or fund terrorism globally. So you find that, yes, they're working seriously about it, and they're, putting all the, where, instead of, like for instance, you have fuel stations all over Nigeria. Now, instead of fuel stations, you have power, where you can charge your battery within seconds. It will take you longer to pump gas into your car than to charge your battery, and you move on.
Okay.
And when your car runs down, you move on, to another destination, you charge. So you don't need fuel. So we have to begin to look inward to say, what are the alternative uses of our oil? Because the world is they want to get rid of oil, especially in the car consumption.
Let me also bring in this one, because when they launched the power sector roadmap, I think that was in August 2012, if I remember properly. But therein, the government has said that by December 2013, we can expect that there will be they expect that we'll get 14,000 megawatts of power generation capacity at the end of December 2013. So that would be a major yardstick that we will judge this government by.
Yes.
14,000 at the end of December 2013.
Yes.
And so far,
what's the level now? They claim that 6,000.
Is it up to?
By June, July, they say they'll get up to 6,000.
And that has to be distributed also, not just generated, because generation, transmission, and distribution. Because
now, you see, this is where I have issue with our planners, economic planners, and in projecting saying that, look, we have power this. The issue is, now this power you have is just to maintain those. Now, how many Nigerians have access to power? That's the question. Now, you're making plans for those who have maybe 40% of Nigerians have access to power. A World Bank or a study done by an international organization showed that about 46% of Africans have access to power. So you find out how many Nigerians have access to power. Then you begin to say, okay, how do we connect those who don't have? For instance, my village, in Uburu, but instead we don't even have power. We don't. So there's no plan.
The rice, plan that you have.
Yes. So how do we? There's, because if you're just providing enough to those who already are connected to the national grid, those of us that are not connected yet, what is the hope? Now let's take that in South Africa. Before apartheid, the end of apartheid, they had about 20%. 20% of households had access to power, to light. But between that period and 2 or 3 years ago, about 80%. How did they do it? As much as they were generating, they were also they had a strategy of connecting about 250,000 households to the national grid, providing them with power. But I have not seen that in Nigeria. So that is the point. Not just providing power, but again, how do you make sure that everywhere? Because if you have power everywhere, now, in addition to diversifying the economy, you can also decentralize the economy. Those are the two things you need to do.
And not just diversify. To worry about the investment in shale oil. And
yes, exactly. So you begin to have decongest Lagos, decongest Abuja, decongest all the big cities. And then there's a World Bank or United Nations report that said that in 2030 or so, that major African cities or major African countries, there will be more cities. People will be living in cities more than in the suburbs or villages. So more people will be living. So how do we prepare? And there was a study done by United Nations Agency, and they said that by 2027, that the population of Lagos will double. Now, the infrastructure, is it doubling? Is there any arrangement? The man said that, look, if nothing is done about Lagos now, or this was in 2003, now that the whole city will sink.
Well, food for thought. I'm sure that they will be thinking and working on this one, those concerns. But we have to let it go here. Thank you for coming on this morning, Dr. Nweze. He's an economist with Pan Atlantic University. Well, it's time to go for the headline news, and Charles Eruka is standing by with that now.
That's right, Chamberlain. Thank you very much. Here are the headlines. Now, it was Democracy Day in Nigeria on Wednesday, May the 29th, but those waiting for President Goodluck Jonathan to reel out his scorecard to Nigerians got an assignment of their own, as the president asked them instead to do the assessment. He was speaking at the unveiling of the Transformation Midterm Report in Abuja. The event, attended by dignitaries from all sectors, was part of activities lined up for the May the 29th Democracy Day celebrations. Meanwhile, the president might not have reeled out his administration's performance in that speech, but his foot soldiers had to bear the responsibility. The Minister for National Planning, Dr. Shamsuddin Usman, his counterpart, the Coordinating Minister for the Economy, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Pius Anyim Pius, listed the achievements of the current administration in its first 2 years in charge. And Nigeria is a land of opportunity which needs to be turned to reality. Well, those were the words of former President Olusegun Obasanjo. President Obasanjo's comments were made at the maiden edition of the Jigawa State Economic Summit in Dutse, the state capital. Also at that summit, the Jigawa State Governor, Mr. Sule Lamido, pointed out that the state government is making intense efforts to eradicate poverty and develop the key sectors of the state. Also, the foreign scene now, the military chief of the Free Syrian Army, the main umbrella group of Syrian rebels, has accused Hezbollah fighters of invading Syria. General Salim Idris claimed in a BBC interview that more than 7,000 fighters of the Lebanese Shia movement were taking part in attacks on the rebel-held town of Qusair. The French foreign minister has estimated the number at 3,000 to 4,000. And elsewhere, the European Commission has accused Britain of discriminating against nationals from EU member states who have been living and working in the UK. The Commission will be taking the UK to the European Court of Justice over alleged failure to correctly assess whether immigrants are entitled to benefits. It alleges that an extra test is applied to see if they are eligible to claim. And those were the headlines. Sunrise Daily continues right after the break.
Some say it's a sharp pain. Some might even say it's a shocking pain. And it's usually caused by hot, cold drinks. It definitely affects the quality of life. The treatment for tooth sensitivity can be very simple. Brushing with Sensodyne twice daily will give you long-lasting protection from tooth sensitivity. Sensodyne works inside the tooth and it soothes the nerve, and then the patient will have a relief of their pain. Sensodyne can be used every day. You don't have to use another toothpaste. For me to have a toothpaste that solves that problem so simply is what I like about Sensodyne.
city. 18 million people and counting. Over 18 million dreams of a better life, and a team tasked to bring those dreams to reality. What is their game plan?